So
That's
it's all
right.
about what you're willing to risk and what you're willing to put into it. I always say to aspiring bike builders, weigh out who you are, what your goals are, but keep it fun no matter what. If you're the really determined, hardworking type, you can make it in the motorcycle industry for sure. Not easy. No one throws money at you. Pushing
Right.
tight, custom bike building up here, it's not really a thing. You really have to want to do it.
Welcome to the One Gang Worldwide podcast, your ultimate ride into the world of motorcycles. Visit cyclesworldwide.com where we offer a completely free marketplace for everything motorcycles. Join our One Gang community where you can connect, share info, and swap stories with riders from all over the world. Join for free at cyclesworldwide.com and be a part of the One Gang community right now.
Today, we're sitting down with a man whose name has become synonymous with innovation, precision, and pure craftsmanship. He's a three-time AMD World Champion, a land speed record holder, and the mastermind behind some of the most influential custom motorcycles ever built. Welcome to the show, Roger Goldammer.
Happy to be here with you guys.
Raj, thanks so much for joining us, man. This is a true honor for us. We're humongous fans and excited to get to know you and let our audience get a chance to meet the man behind the creativity. So we start our show off usually with a section called Break the Ice. I'm going to give you 10 rapid fire questions. No right or wrong answer, just have fun and let's see what we got. Let's start with the first one. What's the best motorcycle you've ever owned or one you still wish was sitting in your garage?
You know what? I keep almost all the bikes that I build, except for, of course, customer stuff. But I build a lot of bikes and keep them. The last bike I built, I love it. I think it's more a bike with the times, and we can get into it later maybe. But it's a Dyna Glide with a panhead engine in it. It's
sick. Yeah. Sick. Favorite road or dirt track to clear your head on?
Spokane Speedway, flat track.
Okay.
Nice. Our home track. Yeah, awesome.
Okay. Besides you, and I've been dying to ask you this question. Besides you, give me your Mount Rushmore of 4 motorcycle builders you've always been impressed with.
I started out with Paul Yaffe, of course, Arlen Ness, Perowitz, and more recently, but still today, Fred Krieger.
Yes, nice. Awesome, man. That was quick. That was nice.
And there's so many guys. Right. There's so much.
Of course. There's just guys that your favorites that you come
for
to
different reasons, right?
Yeah, no question. Favorite movie or book you would recommend everyone should see or read?
Yeah, I'm sure my sort of all-time good old movie type of thing.
Great movie.
Machine's Handbook. That's my thing, my Bible.
All right, go. All right. Your music playlist at your shop is stuck on one artist or band. Who are you hoping it is?
Sorry, what's the first part?
I said your music playlist is stuck on one band or artist in your shop. Who are you hoping?
Sirius FM on all day long here. It's almost like a morgue when there's no music. It's just weird for me. But I always go back to the Tom Petty channel. I still miss that guy and his work.
I know, man.
With on everybody and whatnot. So yeah, gotta be Tom Petty.
That's a great choice, man. Is there an old school practice you still believe in, even with all today's technology?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's sort of where I've gone back to. Sorry for the longer answers here, but
no, great.
I used to have a CNC machine in the shop here. We got rid of it because we weren't ready to do production stuff. But I went back. This last bike, I purposely wanted really, handcrafted parts on it. Some was machined out of billet aluminum, but I machined it manually, right? And I like potentially the imperfections and whatnot. That's what I love about the Japanese bike builders. They just handcraft everything, right? In a world of digitized everything and printing and CNC machining and whatnot, I kind of like the handcrafted sheet metal and fabrication and whatnot. So yeah,
that's cool. Yeah,
that's
awesome. If you could have dinner with one person, dead or alive, who are you breaking bread with?
Gotta be Donald Trump.
Nice.
Wouldn't that be a trip? Awesome. Wouldn't that be for so many reasons we'll get into, but yeah. That's good.
That's cool, man. That's awesome. And by the way, for the people who may not know, Roger's full he lives in Canada, Canadian. And that's great, man. Yeah, he's very active in regards to his opinions, and I love it, man. All right, next one. Favorite motor, in your opinion, that you still use in your builds or just overall love?
I'm a shovelhead era guy. I started out, in the late 80s. Built a turbocharged shovelhead, which I still have. Back there is the bottom end for my old turbocharged shovelhead.
Wow,
And I build a lot of cone motors, so gotta be the shovelhead.
the shovel. Okay. What's something most people would be surprised to know about you?
I don't know. I mean, a lot of people think they elevate us to some status, but I think that a lot of us, we're all just people doing what we do, right? We're all regular people in some ways. Some have just a bit more dedication. I just work harder than most people, right? To be what I've done. I'm not particularly smart and never been handed anything. I just put the work in. So I think just that we're all regular people just following our dreams. Really.
That's awesome, man. Great answer. Last one. Finally, describe the current custom motorcycle world in 1 to 3 words.
Maybe confused. I don't know. And it's mainly because that's my perception. There's so many different aspects of it, right? I see the resurgence now of, cool traditional choppers. I see the high tech, and whatnot. So I think it's sort of in a sort of a rebuilding period and whatnot. It doesn't really have any one direction, but it's still healthy. It's always continuing, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. Agree
Well,
with you.
It's more me that's confused than anything else. Maybe not the
Well, you're a traditionalist. You're old school,
Yeah.
so your mentality's that's how I'm the same with you. I'm more traditional to the old school. I do love, the FXR craze that came back. Now it's getting a little bit crazier than it should, but I'm a little happier that we're getting away from the big wheel bagger stuff. That was driving me a little crazy, but
I never bought into that whole program at all.
likewise. All right, buddy, you did it, man. You finished in time. So now on to your journey.
So, Roger, let's start at the beginning. Take us back. Where'd you grow up? What kind of kid were you?
Well, I grew up in beautiful city of Vancouver, BC, on the coast, and lucky to have awesome parents that were very artistic. And my dad was an architect, so applied arts again, kind of like custom motorcycles. And I worked on his Jaguars and vintage airplanes as a kid, along with my older brother.
Nice.
And then we moved to the interior where we got to play around with dirt bikes. And my mom was a nurse and a teacher, and still to this day an accomplished artist. So, we're a product of our environment, and I was dealt some good cards in that sense. And then, again, dirt bikes and progressing to, British street bikes. Well, I realized I was also into cars as a teenager. I realized early on that I could fit more motorcycles in my garage than I could fit cars. Like I shifted towards bikes. I apprenticed at a automotive right out of high school almost. This is about 87. Work was a little scarce out there, and I thought about an architectural career, but I didn't like the idea of 7 years of university. So I got an apprenticeship as an automotive machinist, which is a great mix of engine building and machining. And nice people, they're still friends today. They still run the family business. I had the key to the shop, so I'd work for them in the day and at night, work on my bikes. And
Cool.
I built my first shovelhead out of swap meet parts. And I one by one, I replaced the parts that I bought with things that I built. I built a really neat working bike out of it and cultivated the skills and the passion for building bikes.
When you were a little kid, were you a tinkerer? Were there certain things that you wanted to take apart and put back together just to see how they worked?
Oh, I was totally that guy.
Right, awesome,
Yeah.
cool.
Much more so than my brother even. Yeah. My parents still, I take everything apart and see how it works and build my own little, models and whatever else and carve a little boat out of a chunk of wood and put a little motor in it.
Cool.
And I think today, it's that drive, it's that passion that hopefully we all have in some way, right? And it'll keeps us getting up in the morning and doing what we do and through the drudgery of life and whatever else. But I think the passion and for me, it's changed a little bit, changes targets a little bit, but it never goes away. And I think that's the important thing. I mean, sometimes I build metal art, plants and whatnot. It's fun, it's creative, and you get your head in it, and it keeps it fresh and interesting. And I still play around with cars and trucks and do some neat stuff. So
Raj, let me ask you a question. When you graduated high school, you did the apprenticeship, but didn't you go to mechanic school also for motorcycling?
absolutely. So I apprenticed, and I was there for 8 years. And one of the old German machinists said, "Hey, Roger, you don't want to get stuck here like me and Fred and Bert and whatever else, right? So think about doing something else." So that really got me thinking. And I, of course, been into Harleys, and I thought about opening my own shop. But I'm the kind of guy that if you're going to do something, I try to do it well. So I figured I'd go down to Phoenix, and I went to MMI, got some bit training, and worked down there. And it's a really great bike shop. Roger Lockwood's #1 cycle and machine. He's full of great friends today. So between working at his shop and schooling, learned a lot about bikes and particularly Harleys. And I came back and opened my own shop, mainly doing engine building and whatnot, and then gradually got more into complete bike building.
Would you say that the guy in Phoenix where you worked, was he one of the major mentors of your life, kind of in this industry that helped you along the way to really see what you wanted to do for your career?
Yeah, we worked really well together in such great principles, and so knowledgeable. He's such an engine geek today, right? I want to say that in a nice way. Total tech. He just lives it, loves it, and we could totally speak the same language. And a huge influence. When I came back to Canada, I kind of set up my shop to maybe replicate his in some ways as far as equipment and setup and whatnot. Interestingly, I had a young Japanese guy come and stay with me for a while, and he sent me pictures of his shop, and he built crane tables exactly like mine, the same kind of thing, right?
Nice.
Same way how it carried on, right? It's kind of neat to see, right? Back in Japan. So I guess we all have those people that we find influence from and inspire you, motivate you.
Right on.
You definitely should.
All right. So now taking the leap into custom building, how old were you when you decided to start Goldammer Cycleworks?
I was like mid-20s then, and again, mainly doing engine work. And all there was, and it's a town of about 120,000 people here, and all there was the Harley shop and a few little aftermarket shops come and go. Again, it was just a lot of Eagles and shovelheads and whatnot. And of course, we love them, but they're kind of problematic a little bit. And
A little bit.
you'll never be able to, right? But, and of course, you try to squeeze as much as you can out of them and can break and whatever else. So I kind of picked up the slack. And then it evolved. There was a local guy who started doing custom bike building, but his shop blew apart. And then I decided more to pick up the slack. And it was, hitting into the late 90s, I really got serious about it. And looked at it more as a business thing and sort of building commission bikes. And I learned my craft early, and I was lucky enough to, in like 2000 to be able to go down to Lachlan River Run and have a bit of a display and just, meet all these people that I read about in magazines. And it's so amazing experience being down there, and there's your heroes walking by and coming up and kicking your hand and whatnot. And then you become friends with them. It's like, wow, how cool is this?
So cool.
So,
yeah.
Neat. And I got to say, this is a big difference between living here and down like in Phoenix, where like in Phoenix, #1 cycle and machine, Grand 59th in Glendale, and there was a Harley shop 2 blocks away. There was Chester's the Dragsters, with highway choppers down the other way, and there was a bunch of shops around, and everybody sort of had their little niche. And we were sort of the engine guys, fabrication, and they had a guy across town doing chassis work and Accutronics, I think they were called, ENC machining and blah, blah, blah in the area. And so you tended to have a capable person over there that could do it. So you weren't really motivated that much to learn it all yourself, right? Really a nice, healthy scene down there. I think there is today in Phoenix, a really healthy scene, right? So I came back, and there's really just no one doing anything. I mean, just selling, new parts and live to ride derby covers. That was customizing, right?
Mhm.
So I had to teach myself all these aspects, right? I built myself, right there, an English wheel and just from pictures and whatnot, and planishing hammers, and built frame tables, and learned all these different aspects of it. So in bike building, though, by learning how to work sheet metal and form things and a machining practices, and of course a lot of welding, you throughout the full bike. And that, if you look at it, a lot of bike builders, they buy the crate engine and
Yep.
The frame,
whatnot,
engine, the front end. Yeah.
and whatnot, and they build gas tanks and blah blah blah. But it's partly out of necessity. I had access to parts and whatnot, but I typically would build almost everything just because of I wanted the challenge. So it becomes you throughout the bike, front to back. It's all you. You don't sub it out to a guy down the road.
Right.
You do it all yourself. And because of my engine building background, I was able to build a bike around an unconventional power plant, like the one right here.
Mhm.
This. Well, if you can see it in
Yeah.
We can see it.
So it's a weird supercharged single cylinder Harley. It's basically it's twin cam bottom end
Such
with
a cool
evil
bike.
top end that we put a supercharger where the rear cylinders at. But the whole bike is sort of built around it. And that's an edge I've had. An advantage, I think, was the ability and maybe willingness to take the risk combination as far as an engine and build something around it. Because I think it's important that there's sort of build pattern through the whole bike and keep it congruent front to back as much as possible. And if it's all you, it's going to be, right? If you build the front end, this is a weird front end with a shock and spring inside the neck. It all matches. It's a complete package. And you see that more, I think, in the bike builders who fortunately build everything themselves. Are you guys familiar with the little Japanese bike builder, Shikaro?
Yeah. Chicaro's amazing, man.
I haven't heard or seen anything of him in years, but I was absolutely blown away by that guy's work and dedication. Fascinating,
Meticulous.
and to me,
That
bike,
whole Japanese scene is unreal, man.
wonderful, isn't it? Yeah.
And I love the fact that they're still taking and using old Harley Davidsons and really bringing them back to life, keeping them patinaed and looking exactly like they were. But mechanically, those guys are off the charts.
That's so cool.
It's like they're honoring the American heritage,
that.
the Harley Davidson, or whatever, mainly Harleys, of course, do. They really do it justice. Years ago, back in the, I guess mid-90s, there was Japanese would come over to our area and fill up containers full of anything old and Harley, whatever. A lot of old iron heads and hands, whatever. It all went over there. And they did it justice.
I'm glad you mentioned trouble behind you there, because I wanted to bring that up before I get to ask this next question. It's so cool to get to ask you this, seeing trouble behind you, and the time. We thank you so much for spending this time with us. So we're honored and grateful. And looking back at Goldammer Cycleworks, what was your vision initially with the business, and how did it turn into a business? How did that all transpire for you while you're sitting in front of one of the coolest bikes on the planet?
Well, I'm not that smart. I'm not a great businessman by any means. I built a business sort of justifying what I love to do, right? And I made it work. And I don't think I really intentionally sort of planned it this way, but back in that era when I was building bikes like this and its predecessor, the HCR3, the one that the World Championship before, I had a formula, and that was I got into manufacturing. So I was manufacturing front ends, frames, and the single-sided full arm. Those parts started out of passion too. I had a guy working for me doing CAD work, a good friend of mine still. We collaborated on projects and come up with these designs, and it was nice to share them with the world. But how it turned out, and I don't know if it was planned this way, it turned out it was a marketing product we could sell and promote, and it was sort of the bread and butter of the company. Then I saw the importance, and it gave me the opportunity to do it, of building like one bike once a year. And as a creative outlet, I found at one point I was sort of getting labeled the front end guy. building those billet front ends and whatnot. And we were selling plenty of them to bike builders around the world. But I didn't want to get labeled as the quote unquote front end guy, right? So that's when I started building like its predecessor, EGR3. I kind of knew that the Artistry in Art in Las Vegas show was coming up and the World Championships was starting out. And I had kind of had that as a target, but I just wanted to build a bike primarily, right? Because I wanted to remind myself and the world that I was a bike builder, not just this front end manufacturer, right? So, and it worked out really well because you get to build this bike and you could share with the world, and they did well, right? Well received at these bike shows. So, and you can't buy that kind of advertising. It was total dumb luck. But you can't buy that kind of advertising when you have like that bike, HR3, on 20 different magazine covers around the world. Yeah. You can't buy that kind of advertising, right? So it worked out really well. So I kept to that formula. I try to build one bike once a year, mostly off hours, and loaned time, and it took a lot of time, but it was a thing that I truly wanted to do. And what motivated me, talking about this bike, so the second year at the World Championships, the unique location from just outside San Francisco to Las Vegas, funny what motivates people, right? Me, anyway. I wanted to go back to those same two shows, the Artistry and the World Championship. I didn't want to be known as a one-hit wonder. So you don't have to win it, but you have to back it up with something that's presentable anyways, right? And that motivated me with this bike. This bike was at the height of the big, 360 tires. And these are 800-pound choppers and whatnot. Beautiful stuff, a lot of it, but a bit over the top, right? I came back with this tiny little thing, which is kind of the polar opposite of everything else there. Then they changed the format at the World Championships to a peer judging system where, it's not judged by a traditional, a handful of magazine editors or manufacturers. It's judged by your peers, bike builders, right? And which I think is a pretty novel thing to do. And when you have, 160 some other
question, when you have peers in your industry judging you, I mean, that's humongous, man.
Yeah, it is pretty gratifying to get that acknowledgement from them.
Hey, wanted to ask you, talking a little bit about the 3 circuit that you did and how it really changed with Goldammer, Trouble, and Notorious. Because out of those, which one do you feel changed your life the most in regards to, like, you were building bikes out of passion and to be creative and to show your skill sets and the things that you could really do? Didn't want to be known as the one-hit wonder, so you wanted to just create what you thought you would like. And then you build these 3 unbelievable machines. You put them on the stage where your peers judged you as the best at show. Like, which one of those really, truly changed your life the most going forward?
Well, in some ways, BTR3, the first one, because it was a pivotal thing, again, jumping back into it as a bike builder. But really, to me, my favorite bike is probably Goldammer, the yellow one, which I don't even love. I don't like yellow, but it's sort of a gold yellow. So I envision, if you were to paint your Ferrari yellow, what would it be, right? A real rich thing. To me, it's the third of the series of 3 V-twins I made into supercharged single cylinders. But I wanted to see, and this is my own thing, I wanted to see how far you could push the envelope, because the first one, this one, had design limitations. We call it design limitations, and they don't work very well. I mean, it worked fine. It runs, it does everything, but it doesn't make incredible horsepower, right? Which I love horsepower, right? But the second one was fuel injected and put a rear head on the front cylinder, and we got some power out of it. The third one, which there's several aspects of it to me are pretty unique in the fact that I wanted to see how far I could push the envelope, right? And the year before, I discovered land speed racing at Bonneville, right? We did a Discovery Channel thing there with watch, right? So that was my introduction to Bonneville. And I realized that a lot of the bikes in the sort of higher tier of custom bike building are getting pretty ornamental, that I wanted to bring back some substance to it, right? So I thought, good or bad, I want to build one bike that can compete, not necessarily do incredibly well at, but compete and hold its own in Bonneville. So get it some substance and still hold its own on the world stage of custom bike building. Show bikes and race bikes are normally worlds apart, right?
Yeah.
Race bikes are all pure function, strong, accessible, serviceable, get it done. And if it looks good, that's a bonus. Show bikes are all, hey, look at me, right? So, but I wanted to combine those two things. So I built this bike and I left it in bare metal and I raced out of it at Bonneville. And Bonneville at the Bob International Speed Trials, it was called it. It's a 5-day event. On the very last day, we finally got the bugs worked out of it. The week before on the dial here, I was blowing supercharger belts and had to make new pulleys, all kinds of problems getting the fuel injection sorted out. I figured, you know what, let's just get it to Bonneville and I'll work on it then. So of course, I went down the run shooting ducks and, we gradually sorted it out. On the very last day, it runs to midday on Thursday. We got shut down the night before because the wind shut us down from making a return run. I'm testing at night. I blew the primary belt off of it, patched up. So it put me first in the queue to make a run first thing in the morning. I made a pretty strong upstream run because in land speed racing, at least that point with land speed racing, you have to do a backup run and we average the two runs together, right? In the same calendar day. So I made a pretty good upstream run. And then I was released to do my return run a few hours later. And it all came down to this. This is the last day. It's been a year building this bike, and this sort of came down to this almost. Right? And I started my return run, and in my run-in, before the timed mile, I hit a false neutral, it turns out, and it just revved. But then I thought I blew the primary belt out again. Sure. I realized I had gear, so I geared back down, started on about second gear, brought back on the gas, and then went through my time mile. And I remember going through that mile, and as you see the quarter mile markers going by one by one, and I remember being 3/4 way through it, and I'm thinking, fuck, I could coast from here, after all the lead up, all that work that goes into this. And, sure. And so the greatest feeling in the world to be able to complete a backup run on that bike in respectable time. I mean, it's half a Harley. We ran 165 miles an hour with half a Harley engine. Yeah. So then I brought it back, painted the bike, cleaned it up. I still run the same number that I raced with, 39. That's my AMA first for that speed racing. And I run 39 on everything. But that's where I got those numbers from. And then brought it back, painted it, and brought it to those two bike shows, the World Championships and the RSVNR, where a lot of the people that go to the event, even other bike builders, they think it's a race being, show bike. Then, maybe find out that it has been raced and run after run. It's gave it some credibility in my eyes, anyway, and some substance, right? And it's technically street legal, but to be fair, it's affordable street. It's got headlights and taillights, but you're really laying across this thing. It's horribly uncomfortable, but nonetheless, I think it did okay in those two other venues and whatever. So that's a really long answer to a short question. That bike, pivotal to me, but it was also being 08 was the end of an era as far as things changed then, as we all know, the global economy kind of collapsed.
Absolutely.
Bikes for, a lot of guys a lot of bike builders end up working at Home Depot, right?
Yeah. When a lot of businesses went out.
Yeah. And I went, and it was difficult to me because I came back at the front end, sales were, plummeting or whatever else. But I was able to go back to what I did beforehand. It was more working on a local level. And I was happy. I still do that today. I got a panhead on the lift over there, all kinds of engines and stuff. And I'm happy to just keep my hands working on Harleys and bikes and adapt with the times to some extent. I use some light manufacturing as well, some flat track race bike stuff and whatnot. But you gotta adapt to the times, I guess. But pivotal bike in many ways because it changed. Right after that, bike building changed.
Yeah, absolutely. What's up, One Gang? I used to think that if I spent big money on riding gear with a logo on the back, I was getting top quality. I gave Leather Up a shot. I wasn't sure at first, could I really get quality gear without spending a fortune? But after putting tens of thousands of miles on their jackets and vests, I had my answer. No busted zippers, no loose stitching, just solid, well-made gear that lasts. Leather Up carries trusted brands like Milwaukee Leather, Hot Leathers, and more, with gear for every rider and every budget. Plus, their customer service actually cares and picks up the phone, something rare these days. So do yourself a favor, check out leatherup.com. Whether you need jackets, vests, chaps, boots, helmets, or luggage, they've got you covered. And because you're part of the One Gang Worldwide family, use code CW20 at checkout for 20% off your entire order. Stop overpaying, gear up with Leather Up, and see the difference yourself. Let me ask you, out of the ones that when you won the AMA trophies 3 times, out of those 3 bikes that won it all, which one, in your opinion, challenged you the most as far as like where you may have asked yourself, am I over my head here? Or I'm gonna figure this out and get it done? Like, well, which one really tested you and your patience in addition to?
Well, again, that last one was definitely the biggest effort with all the sheet metal and all the technology. I mean, it's got 2, the intake fuel pump, and it's got 2 fuel pumps, 2 progressive fuel regulators, blow-off valves, everything from electric shifting. You take the bodywork off of it, and it's like a robot without a skin. It's like packed full of heck and whatnot. The nitrous timers, it runs nitrous as well, right? So, I mean, there's so much going on up. Like, I even look at my old stuff sometimes and taking something apart and just servicing them. I'm like, how did I ever find a time to do this? Although that was a good idea.
Yeah.
Me, how much we forget over time too, right?
Right.
It's crazy. Hey, and you're by yourself always, right? Everything is all by you, right?
I wanted to. I've had some great people I've worked with, but I'm kind of a stubborn kind of guy. And
but in your shop, you're by yourself. When you're building a bike, 99.9% of the time, it's just you doing it.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Because it's an art form, and it's hard to delegate art, right? Some bike builders, they're fine, like shouting out, no, that bike's going green, and this is about the extent of a capable crew. They can sort of they can get their ideas across. Me and some bike builders, I was thinking of a guy in Florida, passed away, maybe a French guy. Didn't matter. Anyways, he showed me the blueprints of the bike he was about to build. He planned every little detail on the bike, every little thing. And, it works for a lot of bike builders that way. Me, I like that, someone I make a little pencil sketch. Some of them in my office, at least one of them's tacked to the wall, a little tiny pencil sketch I made on an airplane. That's the bike, but I don't take it any further than that because I don't want to pin myself down mentally to doing it that way, because there might be a better way as you're taking a part that you've been building and maybe rotating it a bit or whatever, or, it might be a better option. So I leave a lot of it on the fly. But overall, if I look at the bike afterwards in that little sketch, I've captured the most important thing, I think, is the overall impression, the stance of something. Stance is everything. We hear that in hot rodding and bike building and whatnot. Stance is everything. The overall impression of something. And how you get there doesn't really matter to me. It's more that you do get there and you create an impression that's captivating or interesting or dramatic or whatever you're trying to do.
Is it easier for you to see it up on the lift or more on the floor to get the full?
Sometimes I do purposely drop them on the ground just to sort of see what, I don't really do a full lot of, like, after those bikes. I mean, I still build custom bikes. I work in customer stuff. A lot of stuff I don't brag about because, people misinterpret what you're trying to do because it's for and it's their dream. And I have an obligation as a bike owner to build what they want. And I can try to guide them, influence them, give them my advice. But at the end of the day, it's their bike. They're paying the bill. You have to get them what they want and need. So I don't typically brag about it and post anything about it.
I
I don't
understand.
anything, but I
You let them do it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I did finish that little panhead thing that I built. I finished it for service last year. It hadn't been in 6 years.
Was that a customer's bike, or did you build that for yourself?
Oh, it was my own. I actually built a bike for a customer, a girl, a number of 6, 7 years ago on the same kind of formula, taking a Dyna Glide, deraking it, and building a little cafe racer out of it.
Yeah.
The generator motor in it. This is a generator alternator shovelhead, right? This is a generator alternator. It's 100 horsepower, right on the nose, about 105 foot-pounds torque, rubber-mounted panhead in a Dyna Glide chassis, a
Wow.
shortest arm, and real cafe racer looking and
Sweet.
kind of a sort of retro, again, a lot of handcrafted bits on it. Fun bike, and it's the kind of bike that, and this is, look at it more as a bike for today, custom bike for today, I would say, because it's still handcrafted and it can still hold its own at a bike show pretty much anywhere in the world.
Anywhere.
But still titled as a Harley, and it's a jump on and go kind of bike, right? And kind of like a true sport bike. You know, if you ever get on a really capable, great handling bike, the harder you push them, the better they respond, the better they work. They want to lean into corners. They want to get on the gas, railing through corners and whatnot. That's what this does. And yet, you know, you cut along and it has that panhead kind of vibe. I got a 59 panheaded rod, pull the stock light. And, you know, they're nice, lazy, comfortable bikes. And that little hot rod panhead, when you just cruise along, it has that teeny sound that because valve covers on a panhead, they sort of have a teeny followy sound. And it sort of has that lazy kind of vibe to it. And yet angry when you want it to be, right? So
right.
Yeah. So I've gone back to building more practical bikes. Having said that, now that I got that one out of the way, early this spring, I started on another bike, which I figured since I built a practical one, I can go a little bit further the other way and build something that's a little bit more radical. Normally, I, of course, build Harleys, but I work on other brands so much. I mean, I don't know Japanese bikes and whatnot, but I do all the weird stuff for Ducati.
You've done some English stuff, right? Like Triumph and Norton stuff, right? You messed around with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that's what I'm building right now is at Norton. I actually bought I had a guy, a potential customer in New York, who was all hot on me building a street tracker out of a Norton. This is like 10, 11 years ago or so. So I found a donor bike in BC here, an 850, 1975 850 Norton with a bent frame, but otherwise a great donor bike, big drivetrain. And then he flaked out. He hadn't given me a dime. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I'll build something out of it eventually. And I've dragged it into the shop several times over the years at a store.
Look at it.
And then it's like, it'll twine and auto went again, right? But the time I dragged it in, pulled it out of the frame, and I one of my frame tables and rotated the edge. And then what inspired me was I wanted to make it like, it's a parallel twin. And it kind of looks like the single cylinders in a way, right? Because it's one common cylinder. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to make a more practical version of Goldammer, kind of inspired by it. The same kind of supercharger behind it and whatnot. So that's what it initially inspired me. I also built parts, these weird front ends with the shock and spring. It's at the neck of the frame. I built parts for 3. And previously, I've used parts on that bike and another one. And I had to saving these parts for years to use on a project. That's where they're going on this one. So this is a supercharged jukebox drive system with the reverse direction. And kind of a neat, you got to think on problem solving. It's like brought back really good memories of the creative process of late night problem solving. It was taking a big lump of metal and machining something cool out of it and building it, built an intercooler. And now I'm I had to build a whole induction system, welded up a big bore, spinning it down a hole, got it covered in the there, blow through carb. And then mounted the supercharger and then the intercooler. You have to build all that before you can build a frame around it, right? Again, like we talked about earlier, is building a bike around an interesting power plant. So that's a good example, I think. So I don't really know what it's going to turn into, but I know I'm going to have fun doing it. So
awesome.
Right on. So speaking of not bragging, like you mentioned earlier, everybody sees you anyway on the magazine covers and they see the trophies. What don't they see though? What does it take to build at that level, what kind of personal toll does it take on you?
Always noted and said that, I mean, there's always sacrifice, sure, to be the best musician, the best whatever, actor, whatever. There's going to be sacrifice, right? If you want to be top in game, you're going to have to sacrifice something. I try to balance friendship and, relationships with, I have a great wife, and I've raised my kids. I think I did a reasonable job at it, and I hope I did. And keep maintaining friendships, and I really try to do it all. But there will be pitfalls and shortcomings for sure. So that's the thing, is what you're willing to sacrifice. You've got to put the work in, and that takes time, unless you're just freakishly talented and just do it easy. But that's the main thing, is what you're willing to sacrifice and how badly you want it. If in motocross racing, young guys do better because not only are they physically fit, response time and everything else, but typically they can go deeper into a corner and harder and faster. Road racing, whatever, because they don't have a wife back home and kids.
Right. As you get older, you accrue more fear.
They're willing to risk more, right? So it's all about what you're willing to risk and what you're willing to put into it. I always say to aspiring bike builders, weigh out who you are, what your goals are, but keep it fun no matter what. If you're the really determined, hardworking type, you can make it in the motorcycle industry for sure. Not easy. No one throws money at you. Pushing tight, custom bike building up here, it's not really a thing. You really have to want to do it. Some people might be better off having a real job and their income that way, and keeping the bike building as a side on outlet. We're all different. Yep. We're all wired differently. It depends on how badly you want it and what you're willing to sacrifice, right?
Yeah.
Then
was there ever a moment where you felt like the sacrifices weren't worth it? Did it ever get heavy on you? And if so, what got you past it?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, pretty regularly. I mean, I think back, I joke about it, but I might go work. There's a guy across town, great guy, this huge shop and whatnot. And they try to, they do some custom stuff and whatnot. I'm like, just should be easier just to go over there and work for him and X amount an hour, be able to shut my brain off or whatever else.
Right.
But I would do that. I have those days where that Home Depot job again. But
right.
No way. We are who we are, and I'll be there for the long haul for sure. What brings me back is, when again, guys like you acknowledge it maybe, and other younger bike builders, they send me a note appreciating it, and or I walk into part of the shop where I got this rad truck that I built, and I'm like, you know what? I own that truck, and I would never be able to buy that truck, but I built it with my own hands. And we go out on that truck, and it's just amazing vessel to cruise around in, right? Yeah. It's like there's nothing like it in the world. It's something that you crafted yourself. Anyone can go out and buy a Lamborghini, a Ferrari, or lease one, or whatever, and there's something about that you build yourself that is above and beyond. And so, I mean, even if Ferrari's built out on a production line, right?
That's right.
There's something about handcrafted things, no matter what it is, that there's something special, that human input, that element that you can't just normally buy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, that's kind of goes well to what I wanted to ask you, because you could have gone down that TV fame route like other builders did. You stepped back instead. I wanted to always ask you this question because, in my opinion, sometimes the wrong people get the publicity because that's what they seek. What made you walk away from that spotlight? Because in the industry, it was getting flashier, and you kept getting more kind of grounded and working on your craftsmanship, and you never looked at the trends. You always stood true to what you believed in. Was never a humongous social media guy. Look at me. Like, in today's world, with your background, and I know you come from the old school because I do too, I'm in my 50s, and we never had, you don't have that social, like, you look at me, as magazines, you get discovered, and that's how it goes. But how do you cope now based on walking away from what you could have done even more, but you didn't?
Well, to be honest, we all love acknowledgement. We all love people noticing what we do to some extent, right? To me, I like to keep it healthy though, right? I always did. And I felt back in the day when I was learning my craft, doing it and starting to do well at it, that I wanted to get to a certain level on the merit of who I am and my work, not the hype TV or whatever else. And that's part of my own stubbornness. And it wasn't the quickest way of doing it at all, but it was the way I wanted and needed to do it. And probably my upbringing, and maybe it's more the Canadian in me, with kind of the more quiet, well, polite as they say, blah, blah, blah. But, I think I really want to do it my own way. I wanted to get to the top, if you will, on my own way. And that was on the merit of my work and who I was. So I'd been asked to do the Discovery Channel thing several years before. Hugh King there asked me, and but wasn't really into it at first. So after the first World Championships there, actually after the second one, I decided, yeah, let's do it. It'll be a fun thing to do. And it was partly because with Matt Hodge too, right?
Right.
Great and everything else. It was a great thing, and they allowed us to go to Bonneville, which I'd been interested in. Matt was, and what an experience that
One of
was.
my favorite episodes, man.
And it gave me an out, hey, look, we're not really doing the TV thing. That was sort of that. In fact, the funny thing is, I built this little 2-stroke bike. I built a bike. I was manufacturing frames back then and whatnot, and if I was smart, I would have used the TV thing as the infomercial to promote the products I was selling. But I took the opportunity to build a bike based around a really unique 2-stroke engine, which is manufactured in Canada here in Calgary, Alberta, BRC Racing, which is a supercar engine. It's tandem plan, really powerful little 2-cylinder. I took, because of my love of dirt bikes, took a brand new, then new 06 CR250 dirt bike, cut it down the middle, widened the frame, widened this full arm, and grafted in this 2-cylinder engine and built all the bodywork and a ton of fabrication on it. But it was very unconventional for that sort of thing. But it gave me the opportunity to build something I otherwise wouldn't be able to build. And also with my introduction to Bonneville, and I don't know, it goes from there. So I again, I'm not the smartest businessman, and if I wing it, I pick it up as I go along, right?
Did that show help business?
Sure, I think so. Yeah, it all built up. It's hard to tell what really works and what doesn't. We'd go to trade shows, we'd go to, charities set up and often little run LA Calendar Show and whatnot. And sometimes you wouldn't really get any direct sales there, but it all builds up exposure.
Sure.
And it was really before social media was anything. And you just kind of put the work in, show your face, and keep at it. And it all built up and well received around the world. And good ride for sure.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So at one point you stopped doing customer builds to focus on pure ideas. That's a bold move, obviously. So what made you decide to do that? And how did you balance passion versus paycheck when walking away from a steady business?
Well, I simply didn't have the time. We were manufacturing parts, and that took a lot of my time and energy. And then I'm hands-on doing it too, right? And the bikes, I saw the importance that the bikes that were to be built would be to promote the business, the name, if not the products. But then balancing it all, I never really stopped doing stuff for people. I always have a thing for, I still today, I just broke apart an old 370 shovel head day before yesterday here, and engine and transmission and whatnot. But I've always helped the true old bikers, right? I have a list of customers, and some I do it damn near for free just to help them out, right? Just to keep people on the road. So, because I truly am from, the shovelhead era. I was, long before Harleys were ever cool, back in 1987 or so, 88. And I still had a thing for those guys, and I'm from that generation. So I like to anyone on the road. And yet I do, M8s too, right? All the way up, right? So,
what do you think of those M8s?
They're definitely especially airflow. They're so much better. We, and a 2-valve head to get the airflow out of them, it takes so much work, which I love to do. It's nice to take a 65 horsepower engine and get 120 horsepower out of it.
That's insane.
Right? That's pretty awesome, right? Where the new ones, yeah, they make really good airflow. And so it doesn't take much to really get them to respond. They still have their weak points, or they cheaped out on a few things. You still
Always.
get whatever else, right? Close, and they've made improvements, but they're great bikes and all, that when you squeeze them hard, the problems will surface, right?
Yeah.
But technology is sure changed things. I don't really know where it's all going and whatnot. I just hope we can still keep burning fossil fuels, go into the future, doing what we do, right? Lighting things that we love, right? So
no question about it, man. Yeah, for sure. Let me ask you this, because there's legacy and then there's pressure. You Sturgis Hall of Fame induction, 3 world championships, land speed record. How do you still stay hungry with everything that you've accomplished and you've considered one of the legends of our industry? And do you still feel pressure to top yourself or kind of outdo what you've done?
well, okay, to be honest, in some ways, you feel like a quote unquote has been, right? Having done that in the past. But to be honest, well, I never really set out to conquer the world. I never really set out to win trophies and the world, like even the Hall of Fame. I was going to go to Sturgis anyways. Me and my buddy were going to go there, flat trackers. They help up the amateur flat track racing go on there. And me and my buddy Roy had been talking about going anyways from the year before. We were thinking about going anyways. And then Keith Ball phoned me up and said, hey, been a while, blah, blah, blah. If you're willing to, if you want it, and you can be there, be inducted to the Hall of Fame. And I'm like,
That's awesome.
I'm going anyways. So otherwise,
most people are jumping for joy, man. And you're like, yeah, I'll be there.
And I'm not taking away from what they're doing. And I love the honor and whatever else. But to me, I don't really need that to be motivated. As far as going into the future, motivating, I no lack of things I want and need to do. And I'm pretty self-motivated. I'll work till 4 a.m. if you don't stop me, right?
Right.
I better get some sleep. But I'm just, I can just go and go and go. But I don't feel that I need to, get any more magazine covers and all. I really don't. That's not what really motivated me, I think, throughout. Sure, I can target things and I want to do well and I want people to like it for sure. But to me, that's not the thing. I want to challenge myself and impress myself because I know when I'm doing something that feels right and looks right. I know when it's in my hands taking shape. That to me is the best feeling in the world versus, receiving a trophy. So that's really what motivates me to answer your question.
Gotcha.
So I would love to get a peek inside of your brain to get a glimpse, a preview of what you've got planned and what ideas you want to accomplish. Now, in another light, thinking about the next wave of builders, what gets you excited and what gets you a little bit worried as far as trends that you've seen and their ideas coming to life?
Well, I mean, there are different sort of factions in custom bike building now.
Definitely.
I love what some guys are doing, like Max has and whatnot.
Yeah, he's the man.
Art bikes, they're wonderful bikes, and that guy's brain, wow,
Yeah,
crazy.
Max's brain. We had him on the show. His
Oh,
brain
really?
is off, his brain is off the charts.
next level. Just and in some ways, I'm envious, and like I've had to sort of squeeze in on the side of everything else that pays the bills, right? And I'm, I've done fine with what I've been dealt, of course, right? But I wish I could do that full time. I wish I could do that, but we just it's not really an option here. So I'm totally happy just doing what I do, right? But builders like that can push the envelope. It's neat to see. And then there still is some great stuff that's quite functional that's coming out, but it doesn't really, if you really want to win a bike show or get the headlines and whatnot, and this is since the beginning of time, you got to build things which are too low, too long, too unreliable,
Right.
they're beautiful and all, but at the end of the day, that's why I kind of shied away from building them, because you end up with a dozen bikes around your shop that are dust collectors, like I call them, right? Because sure, they can run and they do run. You can ride them, it's like dating a supermodel, and it's just concept may be good, but it ain't practical. It ain't going to work, right?
Trailer queens, we call them, right?
Yeah. So, at the end of the day, I went back and we're working on, so you see a lot of great stuff out there, which is rideable and practical, but it's not going to get the headlines. So it's great to see that there are guys like Max still pushing it and building these amazing bikes that are still reasonably rideable. But
I think a lot of the stuff that he's doing is some of the stuff that you've done in the past. Like looking at some of the lines that he's done on the bike and the way he's run things, it's very similar to what you've done. I would guarantee you that he would mention you as one of his guys that he kind of looked up to as far as watching, because you could see just the lines of some of his builds are very similar to the lines, like even close to the bike you have right here on the side of you.
possibly, yeah. Well, you like to think that you're, influencing people. It's funny because when I went to Sturgis last year, I was in at the Holiday Inn when I missed the banquet. When they all came out, we came in the bar and Paul Yaffe sat down and talked to us. So I told him then, I chatted with him numerous times over the years and whatnot, but I told him right there that he'd been, because he sort of rose to the top just, well years before kind of I did, I guess. And he, of course, his business mind is brilliant. And I loved his styling and whatnot. I told him that. I said, you're a huge influence on me. And as he was sitting there, Zach Ness came by and he sat with us. And then he said, he's asking questions. We pointed out something about BTR3. And I was amazed how much he knew about the bikes that I built. And he told me right then and there that I'd been a pretty good influence on his, design styles and whatnot. So it was cool with two guys at the table, and it's, you can just see the circle there, right? Like it's by Paul, and I influenced, Zach, right? It's kind of neat, right? How it continues the next generations, and as we grow, and I think all builders, they change a little bit in what they build. Some do, some don't, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But I certainly do, and I want to. I'll work on ideas for cars and whatnot. I got a few lined up that I want to tear into roads.
Cool.
Yeah, they're changing.
That leads us perfectly into what we kind of talked about a little bit. You just mentioned things like Corey and Paul, and you mentioned into them, but you know what? We had Buzz and Paul and Brian Clark and Dave Perowitz, guys like that on our show, and all of them mentioned you in the same breath as Arlen Ness as their favorite, most creative builders of all time. What does that mean to you? You're such a humble guy. That's what I've always loved about you, is you've never been a spotlight guy. You've always just put your creations out there, let the people decide, and everybody's just always happy with everything that you do. But like, what does that mean to you personally? From a guy who kind of shies away a little bit from the spotlight and kind of lets his work showcase who he is. What does that mean to you when people like that in the industry say things like that?
Well, it's a wonderful feeling for sure, but it tells me that with a lot of hard work, that almost any one of us can get where we want to go, right? That's the main ingredient. Put the work in, put the effort in, make good decisions, and you can get there. I like to be included in that group. Absolutely. Back at the last year again, Sturgis, right after the presentation and whatnot, they had us all 8 recipients up on the stage, for a photo op thing. And then here's the best part about the whole night, I think, was when they called up all the former recipients, and then, John Reed, and of course, Dave Perowitz, and everybody up on the stage. And there's, Pete Hill and all my heroes. And I'm looking down there was like 100 of us up on the stage, right? And I'm looking at from side to side, and I'm like, wow, how cool is this to be included in this group, right? It's great to be in that, in that group of people, Yeah, what a feeling. For sure.
Yeah, no question, man. So what kind of things are keeping you feeling alive these days? I mean, you've done so much. Like, what are the things that truly you get up every morning and forge full speed ahead, because this isn't an easy career living. There's a lot of back breaking. I'm sure you've got a lot of pains in your hands and your back and things like that you've gone through. It's just part of this industry and part of the years of the wear and tear on the body.
Sure.
So how do you still get up and feel inspired to do the next thing?
Well, vitamin ibuprofen.
That's funny.
I have a hard time sleeping sometimes, but I just want to get back to work. It never seems to add, but I think that's because and again, it's a lot of drudgery. You work through that. I love the feeling of getting problems solved and get people bikes back on the road and get them, create their dream for them. But I also have my own things. I love dirt biking. We have incredible woods riding here, and I go out a few times a week, tearing it up. And to me, I have several dirt bikes. If it's late at night and I just burned out from working on air stuff, I'll go work on one of my own projects. And I got to keep busy and keep active. And then you got to have that. You got to have your own downtime and all the fun stuff for sure. Way too many things. Plus, we're building a house right now.
Oh boy.
Are you building a house?
And
keeping yourself busy. Just add that to the pile.
That's not much this year. I normally race about 20 races in a year. Mostly down the Spokane area there. World-class track, awesome people. But this year I only went to 2 races. I'm just trying to, spend money on the house instead and whatever else, right? And I just go dirt biking locally. So you got to have your own distractions, your own things.
Plus, I see you advertise a lot with your wife's studio and the things she does. I love that, man. You always promote her work, and I see that. Did you build her in that studio?
Yeah, well, it was her dream, and I think I fully got behind doing this studio for her because she is amazing woman, huge potential, but and I wanted her to realize the same rewards that I've got by having pursued my dreams and the acknowledgement and whatnot. I wanted her to be able to see that as well, because she has put the work in. She does continue to put the work in, and it's really paying off now.
Nice.
Beautiful space when she can, do her thing, right? So it's kind of nice to be able to help someone else. And she's more driven than me, I think, right? She's got iron slide, but it's crazy in some way, right?
Well, don't men reach their peak at like 16, 17 or something? And women get the energy later on in life, where we got it early on in life. So.
No knock of that, yeah.
That's funny.
So as we wrap up, Roger, I wanted to ask you a little bit about advice and a couple other little things, but you've lived the definition of risk and reward, from cutting engines in half to building art that not only graces covers of magazine and social media, but also performs at extremely high speeds. For builders, riders, and dreamers listening right now, what's one piece of advice you give about chasing a craft that doesn't come easy?
Well, I think it comes back to what I said before, was at all costs, keep it fun. Because with fun, as soon as it becomes work and drudgery, it loses something, right? You have to create it and fun. Don't ever lose that in building it, whatever you're building, working on. Even if you're going to step back and do it at a slower pace, keep fun and creative, and trust your instincts. Get input from other people for sure, but basically trust your instincts. You mentioned risk. I did like to take risks. I didn't do things differently just because it's differently. I just thought that there's maybe different ways of looking at things and shaping things, and then all of a sudden you can't see it. You see it taking shape, and I use cardboard templates and whatever else to help visualize it. Like it's different, a little bit than that before, but it's beautiful too. So if you can combine things, you can combine a functional part. And that's where on a lot of these bikes, I put things on custom bikes that normally just distract from the bike, right? chain guards and whatnot. Well, chain guard, if you can make that a utilitarian thing, actually add to the bike, just take away and clutter things up, then I think really done your job well, because, you get them both, right? Integrating turn signals into the struts, like over there, the struts that hold this tail section up and whatnot. And it's addictive when you start thinking that way and creating problem solving and coming up with conventional solutions. And when you hit it, like it's just bang, that idea. That's
Hey,
it.
can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
We always ask artists like yourself who do custom builds this question. And one was, when you envision a build in your mind, right? What do you normally do? Are you more of a drawer where you kind of draw it out, or do you just go get a frame and start chopping up? Like, how does your plan become reality?
Well, that's almost the most important thing in the build is the early planning stages. You have to really look at, what you're really trying to achieve with this bike, right? I don't ever discount the frame or say, no, let's see what can get you at. I'm looking at, again, that stance, overall look and impression. I'll look at how well I expect it to work in the end and what I'm willing to compromise, right? Again, I think the most important thing is look what you're trying to build and see how you can get there. I'm not the kind of builder where I can just, to be fair, be honest with you, I was talking about this with my wife the other day, that a lot of the stuff that I do and almost take pride in is I'll use an idea from the previous bike and I'll try to improve on it or integrate it, not because I don't think the first will work and I thought it could maybe I get an idea. In fact, if you took all the bikes that I build and you wind them up chronologically, I think you'd see similarities, but you also see some of the technology or visual design from bike to bike. Because when I'm building one, I'm like, okay, I wish I just had a bit more grandparents, have a rake and tighten up the handling or whatever, right? I think it's a natural thing if you build a bike to be inspired and learn from your previous work and integrate it into your next challenge. I think that's really important. Even compared to the stock bike, if you don't have any league to vote, right? That's see what you want to change on it and what you want to sacrifice again. Like I have a lot of stuff along the shop that I'll only use it if it's right for the paycheck. It's pretty convenient to have. Like on this one thing, I'll have a couple of those little road check secret changes. You get over right here. And it's perfect for it, but I happen to have it here. And I took a turbocharger and a few different superchargers, and I tried to figure what would work. And yeah, that was the best thing. So I'm using up stuff I have around. If it's not right for the project,
you're not going to put it in, of course.
To me, it's nice to be able to integrate and repurpose things. And the lump of metal I had for the gearbox, I had an intercooler torque. I had a lot of the stuff to that normal project. You don't want to look like it's just a bunch of junk you had around. Right. And it's best if you have a lot of stuff around you or friends and stuff you can borrow and try to see what works. And all of a sudden, it sort of becomes clear what you're trying to do.
Right on. All right. Next question is legacy. So when the story of custom motorcycles is told decades from now, how do you hope people remember you as a builder and innovator or just a guy who can't stop creating?
I never really put the bottom to that, but I think a guy that just sort of did his own thing a little bit and did it his own way. And what's important to me is that I wasn't an asshole, right?
Right.
If I was, I was dumbly if I am. Like I always told journalists, because they want you to push their magazine stories and whatever else. I know I didn't almost want to read them. I said, I'll read the technical stuff, make sure it's correct. But especially North America, they're too nice. Everybody's too nice. They're not going to, rip you apart if you need ripping apart, right? So,
right.
But, I think we all in this world, we all own our own reputations, good or bad. And, you got to own it, right? So, you know what? Years ago, the province of British Columbia, this is back in 2005 or so, I got an awards for the achievement in applied arts. So, the premier of BC here, it was 5 of us. And the other one's a really notable thing. One was making like these bicycle parts in Africa to get people out of the
Nice.
sticks to out of old junk bicycles and whatnot, this program and making it into carts to get people to medical, help and whatnot. And the other one was repurposing sails into some, usable thing, right? And here I am. I brought a motorcycle down to it, right? And I went up there and I said, hey, I pale in comparison to these other recipients here, but I still hope there's a place in this world for art and custom motorcycles. But, there are far better people than me doing great things. So I don't think I've, helped cure cancer or anything notable like that. But I still think and hope there's a place in the world for art and what we do. I think even if it's just helping people pursue their dreams or bikes and get their old Indians back on the road or whatever, right? So I think it's a bad answer to your question, Moldy, but it's helping others is a big thing, right? And I really do. I really try to put everything into people's project best I can.
Yeah. None of us will ever really know the impact that we have. It's incremental and spreads out. You never know. So I'm sure you would be.
All you can do.
An impact is always determined by your peers, I think. Like when people around you, if they say, I mean, you're a jerk, then you've been a jerk. But when people acknowledge you and talk good about you, that means you've done the right things. Whatever. I mean, you obviously being in the motorcycle industry, I've been in it for over 2 decades and talked to a lot of people my whole life throughout this thing. There's guys that you hear that are like, somebody will say, he's a jerk behind the scenes. And there are guys who people say like, he's just one of the good ones, man. And to me personally, being a guy who's followed your journey since you basically started coming up in the magazines and stuff, you're one of the great ones. So, man, thanks for coming on here, man. This has been like
legendary.
Pleasure.
Speaking of following, where are you most active? Where can people follow along on your journey?
Probably Instagram. Goldammer Roger.
Cool.
No age.
Gotcha.
I don't post enough. I should. I keep telling myself I'm gonna amp it up a little bit and share a little bit. But, you can always contact me and or there.
Do you have anybody who helps you with it, or?
No. I might shortly. There's a wonderful guy, a Russian fellow down in Florida helping my wife Venice. And he's putting on a bike event. He's a bike guy.
Cool. Nice.
Helping her get her website. It's amazing. Stan, he's putting on the Freedom Show. It's an online thing. He's doing right. They want to look into that.
Okay.
Freedom competition or freedom contest. Amazing. Like trying to make it a global thing. He's all into tech and whatnot. But, he's got Fred Krueger on board now. And Winston Lee as well, I think, to help guide it and promote it and whatever else. But, so I think they're going to get it to help you out. It's cool. Might even fire up another website, although I'm not really, I don't have any marketable parts and whatnot. And Flat Track, they like stuff in there. As far as promotion goes, well, I suck at it, I know.
Are you doing now any like personal parts? Are you making certain parts that you're trying to put out on the market, or is it by order only type stuff? Like, how does your parts section work? I know how the builds work.
Well, I can do custom one-off stuff. But I do the Flat Track race bike conversion kits. But that's a whole different kind of thing. Kind of neat to do that, but it's sort of a niche sport. The market's down right now as Flat Track racing sort of goes up and down with the economy, and it's been on a downturn. But people can always get a hold of me if something built.
Thank you very much, Roger. We'll add the looks like it's hdshow.com or no, hd.show. We'll add that to the show notes also. We appreciate you, man. This is awesome. You took the time with us.
Thanks, man. This has been worth every 2 years of me chasing you down, man. And some. I could talk to you for the next 3 hours, man. But obviously we stay within constraints where people can stay tuned in. But thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts, man. Good luck to you. Stay healthy. Good luck to your wife with the studio, and hopefully she keeps kicking ass with that. You need anything on our side, you come down to Florida, you let us know, okay? Please.
Yeah.
You got a place to stay and you got a bike to ride, so
Awesome. Give you some sun.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's,
right
it's
on.
nice now. We're starting to finally get good weather. It's not 800 degrees out, pizza oven hot, so it's nice. You can actually come out even with our great haircuts. You don't have to worry about
Yeah,
it
you know.
burning and cooking. So
The aerodynamic hairdo.
that's right, man.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you
Roger.
again, Raj.
My pleasure.
Have a great rest of your day and have a great weekend.